guys lost Oviedo. Pitching situation is what it is. Just from your seat, what can be done, or how are you thinking about the pitching going into this season?
Well, I'm thinking that, we're going to need to add, obviously, because, we ended the year with just 2 traditional starters. So just trying to figure out the best way to fill as many innings as possible, especially early in the season. But yeah, I think we're going to have to see how the market, not only the trade market bears out, but how the free agent market bears out. But we are definitely in a situation where starting pitching is going to be important to us.
Was it something that season was it he just did cover postseason?
Yeah, it was one of those things that just as this offseason went on, he had this lingering pain, and it was like when you accumulate the number of innings that he did as a starter, there's going to be some downtime where you don't feel great, and then that continued, and that's when we decided, all right, we're going to have to get this looked at, and that's when we found out what the situation was.
Sean, you have a number of interesting prospects that should be in triple and double A starting pitching prospects. Do you resist the urge to rush those guys, or did somebody maybe with a big spring make the jump from double A?
I think we have to be very smart. If resist the urge is, the nomenclature. Can I use that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nomenclature.
Is it nomenclature?
Yeah.
Nomenclature. Does it count for this year or last year? Yeah, not a word. Okay, we're not going to use it then. I think we have to resist the urge to rush guys before they're ready, just because what our need is. We also have to weigh what their need is. And so we have to make sure that they're ready to come to the big leagues. Because I think, as we've seen with any major league player, coming to the big leagues, it's hard. Just because you're a prospect doesn't mean automatically when you step in, you're going to be able to, pitch or hit at that level. So we have to make sure that we do our due diligence and make sure they're ready.
Just where the rotation is right now, does that put, even more importance on Mitch going?
Mitch having taking the next step forward is important for us. But really, we saw a major step last year, not only physically but mentally, and we just need him to keep getting better. And, it's definitely something that I think we see there's more room for him to grow, and he sees there's more room for him to grow. And, we expect him to take that next step.
Shelton, kind of a two-part question with Leyland. What was it like witnessing all of that the past little bit, and then just what sort of influence has he had on you?
Well, the first part, it's really exciting. I was on a plane yesterday when it happened and got off, and I think I opened my Twitter up, and the first picture I saw was a picture that somebody retweeted of me with the T-shirt of him on with a cigarette in his mouth. And then I called Kirsch because I was walking with a bunch of people and asked him, and he got in. So unbelievably excited to be in the room to watch him talk about it was emotional, just because of the fact that he's meant a ton to me. And I think the second part of your question, man, there's no better sounding board if you're the manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates than to be able to call Jim Leyland, at a moment's or a day's notice, to be able to have breakfast with him and be able to talk through different things that are going on and how to do it, and for him to tell me what he thinks I'm doing well and what I'm not doing well. And he's very transparent with me, which I really appreciate. And I think one of the things that he pointed out that was really cool is, he's not old school, because he understands what's going on. He has thoughts and will ask questions about why things happen, but he's always learning, and he'll ask me questions of why did you do this or why did you not do that? And then he'll tell me what he thinks I did wrong, which is beautiful. But I think he means a ton to me personally, because he's someone that is unfiltered in terms of the feedback that he gives me.
Well, how did that relationship get started, and what were the emotions when you first got the chance to meet and talk?
Yeah, it's funny, Steven. I told the story to Steven the other day because he wrote an article in The Athletic about it. When I first got the job, there was 4 or 5 days between when I got the job and when we had the press conference, and it kind of broke that I got the job. And I kept getting this call from a Detroit number and didn't answer it. And finally, I was at dinner one night and sitting with my wife and some friends, and may have had a glass of bourbon or two, and finally I was like, I'm going to answer this damn call. And I answered it, and it was the scruff, this Jim Leyland. And I was like, oh, wow. Stood up. And he invited me to breakfast the next morning, or the first morning I got to Pittsburgh, and just told me about the city and told me about what the expectations, and told me about, basically talking to you guys in the city and how it was. So right from the get-go, it was a sounding board. And now it's great because, he and Donnie have a close relationship. He and Mike Rubello have a close relationship. So we're able to, sometimes it's just he and I having breakfast. Sometimes it's 3 of us. Sometimes it's 4 of us, depending on bringing. Patrick joins us, a lot. So to be able to have that, I think is really important. And I appreciate it because he invested in me. And so that's why today I think is so special for, the city of Pittsburgh, because he lives there, and for Jim Leyland.
So you're one of the longer tenured managers. What you learned about yourself look back on this.
Continue being patient. I got the job, and then we had COVID, and then we had the next year with the labor. So it's the thing for me is like not wanting to do things too fast, just being patient, looking back, assessing the situation, continue to get as much information from possible from different people. But I think that would be the first thing.
And then what are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of the growth that we're making with our players. I think our depth in our organization is something that is better than when we got here. And probably the most thing I'm most proud of globally is that Ben came in with a plan, and we have never veered off that plan. And at times it's been challenging. At times people have questioned it, but we've never veered off like what we do that we think is going to be successful for long-term success in Pittsburgh.
You mentioned talking to Jim as a first-term manager, all the questions you had with him. Other guys you talked to, if you're talking to a first-term manager today, or you're talking to yourself as a first-term manager, it's not possible to imagine. What kind of advice would you have for a first-term manager?
Well, the first one I gave to a couple guys is stay out of the lobby at the winter meetings, because you're not going to be able to get from point A to point B because everybody's going to stop you. The second thing, and probably more important, is listen to your staff. And it's one of the things Leyland told me right out the get-go. Don't be afraid to admit the things you don't know, because I think in baseball at times we look at the manager as like the person that's all-encompassing, and then you look at other sports and we have specialties. We have, in football you have people that are specialty in offense or defensive backs. In hockey, whether it's goaltending or being on defense. And in baseball at times we look at the manager as like in terms of like, okay, so I think one of the best piece of advice is that Leyland gave me right off the bat was like, listen to your staff. They're going to provide insight to you of things that you have not thought about. And I think going back, to earlier questions, the one thing that I'm really proud of too is the growth of our staff to be able to be in different areas and be able to handle different things.
There's so much division. Just how do you view the division as a whole and kind of collectively where everybody's at?
Are the divisions getting stronger? The division's getting stronger. I mean, you talk about the National League Central, and we had, one team that won our division, and then we had 2 teams that were within 2 games of being in the playoffs. And we had a significant, win improvement, 14 wins better. So the division's getting better. And I think the most important part is your first point. There's a ton of young talent in the division, just actual young, exciting players in our division. And I think that's a really cool thing for baseball.
Knowing that, going into next year, all those division games are, there's no one that's really not trying to go for putting together a good team. What is that like being in your seat, knowing all those division games that await you?
It's going to be more fun. It's going to be more fun. I mean, it really is, because I think everybody in the division is taking steps forward. The division's getting stronger. The young players now have accumulated at bats. They've accumulated innings, and there's nothing that can replicate Major League at bats, Major League innings. So the division just continues to get stronger. And what you're going to see is a lot of young players, ages 27 down, that are going to start to make significant improvements. Well, we're preparing for him to catch. And I think that's the way we want to go into the offseason. We want to go into spring training of that. That's the work he's doing right now. So I think it is important. As we've talked about all along, positional flexibility is really important to us. So the fact that Henry can play other positions, Indy can play other positions, all of our players. But we are looking primarily for him to come in and focus on the catching position.
What led to that? He did catch. He did catch others.
Yeah, he caught the 2 innings. Yeah, he caught the 2 innings. I think, before he got injured the last time, there was some expectation that we were going to have him catch more. And then once he came back from the injury, we just decided, all right, we're going to finish the season strong. We're going to let him play, we're going to let him DH or play in the outfield just to finish the season. But all intentions were we were going to go into the offseason or even into September and have him catch more. And then the injury kind of derailed that. And then we started to focus on, all right, let's work on it this offseason into next year.
From the fans, though, a lot of decisions have been taken out of the manager's hands these days. I don't think it captures the whole job. What is maybe the most important decision, or maybe one or two, that you have to make every day?
Who we use in the bullpen? Yeah, I mean, I think honestly that gets overblown. You know, I mean, and again, you'll hear a lot of managers. I've never been given a lineup. I've never been told who to play. Do I solicit advice? Yes. Do I solicit advice from Ben? Yeah. But I solicit advice from Donnie Kelly, and I solicit advice from Mike Ribello and Oscar Marine. So it's not just like one-sided. So there has never been a situation where I've been told you need to use this guy, you need to do this. But the biggest decisions every night are just how you're going to use your bullpen. And a lot of that, you know, in today's day and age, in any day and age, comes down to availability. You know, you can second guess why guys are not used. Well, maybe that guy is not available that night. And it's one of those things, and I think you guys that are with me a lot, like, I'm never going to tell you that. I'm definitely never going to tell you that pregame, and I'm probably not going to tell you that postgame, because I want to make sure that the other manager, you know, doesn't know. It's not like we're the only people that have you know, the ability to listen to this information. So it's more dependent on like when you're going to use your leverage or levers.
What's your best story in the time that you followed a hunch and you went against the book with Oneil Cruz and it paid off?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Probably Oviedo and Keller last year when they're complete games. You know, I mean, everybody thinks when they get to a certain point, probably in Ovi's the most, just, you know, letting him finish it. But that, I mean, that's been something that would probably stand out, because they're so rare in today's games. You don't see it anymore.
Reaction to that, and also cause for next year.
That is my new cause for next year, is the Platinum Glove. I think he should have won the Platinum Glove. I think, like I told you guys numerous times, I think he's the best defender in baseball. Very happy for him. Very well deserved. You know, like I've said numerous nights in Pittsburgh, we get spoiled watching him, what he does, how he does it. And I think now that he's won the first one, it's a situation where everybody realizes like how good a talent this guy is. So very, very excited. When they announced it, I had a big smile across my face, and I actually thought about you guys, because now you can listen to me quit complaining about the fact that he hadn't won one.
What's the new status?
He's good. He played in some instructional league games in the Dominican, was able to see the video of it. Steven Morales was there for a week. Mendy was there for a week. Seth was there for a week with him. But it was probably the highlight of every day that I've had over the last 2 weeks is we have video of everything he does on the field. So just watching him take ground balls, watching him steal a base in a game, watching him have at bats, that made me smile. I think it had a significant impact on us. I mean, we played, besides Oneil, we played 8 other guys at shortstop. And that's a premium position. And we're talking about one of the better young players in the game. And I think we felt really good about the strides that he had made in the offseason, the adjustment that he had made even early on, both offensively and defensively. So it was a big part of our club. And that's why it's so important that he comes back and he's healthy to start the 24 season. I think so. I mean, I think we're going to talk. We're going to talk about opportunity again. We're going to talk about competition, because, some of our young players that played in the big leagues, there's going to be competition for spots this year. But yeah, I think this sense of urgency continues to go year after year, and that will be, part of the messaging as we get there. I'm not fully vetted on what it's going to be or the terminology that I'm going to use that first day in Bradenton, but I think the fact that we were able to take a significant step forward was very meaningful, and we'll kind of continue to go from there. I think that's an interesting question. I think when Skeens is ready to come to the big leagues, then we will do that. But I think the other thing that's really important is, I mean, we're talking about a kid that's really talented, but he's never pitched on 5 days. He's never pitched on 6 days. So the trials and tribulations of the major league season, or of a minor league season, is really important. We have to have those growing pains first before we consider him to be part of the major league team.
Shelton, what do you think as fans, as we look at ERA versus pitcher stat, what does innings mean in this day and age?
I think innings is important. You know, I think it's, you know, you're beginning to see it being a gold standard of guys being able to go out. It's why Mitch's year was so important, to be durable. And it's not only for what happens, you know, during the season, but it teaches guys how to prepare for the season, especially young players, knowing the length and the grind of what a major league season is about, and that there's going to be ups and downs. It's good messaging for how we're going to be in the offseason and how you have to prepare.
Good.